Hello everyone, I'm Zhi Xun. I'm a new face in NUSSU. And let me talk a little bit about myself. Zhi Xun, I'm from Science, Physics, Year 3. And I was from the NUSSU FOCC REC Organizing Committee 2013 as an logistic executive. And this is my so-called my mission, in NUSSU, to rethink student engagement and understand students' common interests. Okay, this is a picture that shows me, logistic director, project director Zhi Ling, and Kim Chun, the vice project director, and Rachel, the logistic executive, working alongside with me. We jumped for joy because we set up, me and the events management team set up the whole logistical aspects of the 2013 logistic REC event. Okay, so let me go about talking about the role of assistant secretary. I think the role of an assistant secretary is like the backbone of the NUSSU operations. I'll take care of the services, the logistical aspects, and I'm also the guardian of the union history and heritage. So I'll talk more about it in later slides. Services. Okay, services is these four aspects. The NUSSU Secretariat still remains as the core in my duties. Pushcart will be the entrepreneurial dimension of what NUSSU is pushing for. Student launch at YIH, I'll explain more later. And the new thing is the NUSU Center in Newtown. Okay, the student launch at YIH. This is my own created vision for the student launch at YIH. I think the student launch has its current vision, but let me just elaborate on my vision. A common social space for NUS students to engage each other and revive the kampong spirit to create a more inclusive NUS community. Now, NUS recently was ranked first in Asia, but in terms of the academic ranking, NUS is #1. But what about the social spirit, the kampong spirit that is lacking within the NUS community? I think we still need to build a lot more on that. So that is my vision for the student launch at YH, and that is what I hope to see in the future in the management of student launch. This is the direction I want to pursue if I got elected. So I took a few pictures of the student launch, and you see on the right-hand corner you got an Xbox Wii machine that is not publicized enough. Nobody uses it. A manga corner that also has nobody uses it because it's not publicized enough. And there's a pool table, football table and all that, which are some vendors put their machines there, but obviously it is very little utilized. So I'll be thinking of ways to try to maximize the utility of these resources, given that they are still there. And yeah, that will be my role. A systematic shift of the student launch towards a more comfortable social space. Why a systematic shift? When I look at the student launch, I see most students there studying. And I do not wish to disrupt them by taking away most of the things, making a big, major transformative change. I would like to do a systematic shift. Obviously, because this is in the interest of students. If students want to study there, discuss their project there, so let them be there doing it. So that's why I take a systematic approach in shifting the student launch. So the first step will be removal of tables from the green zone and replace it with bean bags. I think the green zone will be the Xbox Wii zone, and the bean bags will be there to facilitate the students. When they see the bean bags, they won't think of studying. And I will think of cordoning off the green zone so that students playing there will not affect the students in other colored areas of the student launch. Lastly, the thing is the promotion of the Wii machine and transform the green area to recreational zone. I think the promotional part, the communications secretary would tell us more about it on the promotional aspects. But we have the monthly tea session that can actually promote the Wii machine. Yeah, so that is what I hope more to see. Student launch, more promotion, more publicity, and a more visible social space for students. Okay, this is my vision for the NUS Youth Center at SRC Newtown. a platform for NUS students to start collaborative ground-up interest project and fostering a student-centric NUS community. Now what is lacking now is a facility for any NUS students to start up their own projects, regardless of whether they are from CSC, CSC, they have their own projects. But what about normal students, the average Joe? What projects would they like to start up? I think this is a good zone for them to come together to this center to do new things, collaborate new things, and basically fostering a student-centric NUS community. Okay, the NUS Youth Center, I will take the model of Hub Singapore and the model of hot desking. So I will talk a little bit about Hub Singapore. Okay, this is the website of Hub Singapore. Hub Singapore basically is a center that promotes entrepreneur ideas for Singaporeans all over Singapore to come together to create a sustainable impact. But for this NUS Youth Center, more than just that, creating an entrepreneur spirit, promoting entrepreneur spirit, I would also incorporate hot desking. Hot desking is like an office organization system which involves multiple workers using a single physical workstation. Basically, it's just like an office, but it's not 24 hours occupied by the same permanent staff. Multiple students can actually clock in and clock out. You know, in a sense that this replaces the traditional concept of an office as a permanent space for the same people. Different people can actually use the same space for different purposes. In a way, it reduces costs. You don't need to have a permanent office renting space for the same people. You know, different people can actually tap on these resources to do whatever projects they would like to do. That's for students to do. So it's an innovative space for the development of student networks, entrepreneur spirit, and informal collaboration. The main thing I want to highlight here is the informal collaboration, because I feel that an informal collaboration, it is through informal collaboration that real ideas are generated. So that's why I would encourage an informal setting at the NUS Youth Center. Okay, for the NUSSU Secretary. This is the sofa that have a tower. There's the Harvard Tower. According to my understanding, this tower is, you know, they got it through union trip to the US university, so they just laid it there. So I thought that why is NUSSU Sec, putting a Harvard Tower on the the sofa? I thought that it would better serve if you just change it to a NUS Tower, to revive the NUS spirit. But jokes aside, keep the existing condition, because I think Wei Xiang has done a pretty good job. According to my understanding, he was the logistic officer back in his NS days, and he has created a lot of amazing SOPs to maintain the NUSSU Sec, and that's why I hope during my term, if I get elected, to maintain the present conditions of the secretary, and also to coordinate with Madam Sheila, our NUSSU longer-serving treasurer. I think she knows a lot about the NUSSU Sec. In fact, the whole maintenance of the NUSSU Sec is maintained by Madam Sheila herself. So I think we got to give her the credit that she deserves. Logistic. Okay, logistic, I'll basically touch on three parts. It's the NUSSU band, the dungeon, and the DOL room. Basically, the logistical aspects is to maximize the utility of resources. Okay, NUSSU band. I'll touch on three parts. Optimization of resources. I will be reviewing the usage procedures to maximize the van usage. Because engine faculty has feedback to me that the van usage, they only allow 1 day per van usage for one faculty or one club. Because there is previously an incident that involved an accident. So in order to maintain the liability of the NUSSU van, they make it 1 day to one club. So what I hope to do is to review the usage procedure, segmentize the time limit for different clubs to use on the same day itself. So as you see, there's only one NUSSU van, so you want to maximize the procedure, the usage of the van. So that's what I hope to do. Second is sharing of resources. because there's only one NUSSU band, and Ita has mentioned resource sharing, how we can get active volunteers, to get their pickup truck and to call it a system, a centralized system of active volunteers list to actually share resources among fellow NUS community, so that resources will not be too strained on NUSSU itself. And basically, the logistical aspect of NUSSU band is to support the NUS community, to continue to serve the logistical needs of students. Okay, operational working gears of NUSSU. We have the dungeon that keeps most of the staff inside, and the DOL room that also keeps logistical staff inside. So I think they are just lacking on the maintenance part, or I will continue to maintain both the dungeon and the DOL aspects of, because they are the operational working gears of NUSSU. So without them, clubs cannot continue to loan staff from these places. So basically, these are just maintenance issues. Okay, as a guardian of Union heritage and history and heritage, the archivals of minutes, the minutes and the Union Heritage Project which Sherman has started, will continue to collaborate with him on the purpose and how best to project it in such a way that students will actually take note of the Union Heritage Project and not let my effort goes to waste. Q&A. Do I need to go back to the objective part? Because the Q&A is a blank spot.
I can control F.
Oh, okay. Yeah, this will be the main part.
Questions?
CSC, Zhi Xun, I'd like to ask you, right, how different do you think the job scope of an assistant secretary is that from a director of logistics?
I think the assistant secretary is different from the logistical director in a sense that the assistant secretary sets the general direction and the logistic director execute the general direction as per set by me. But of course, I would also seek the consensus of the logistic director and the services director to seek their expertise, subject matter expert on how best to bring the allocation of resources forward in the union. Did I answer your question? Thank you.
Really business? Simple question. Most of our understanding is that you were actually running for assistant welfare secretary, and it comes as a surprise to us that today you actually nominate to be the assistant secretary. Can you tell us the motivations for changing and how you can actually better fulfill your role in assistant secretary?
Okay. Initially, I planned to run for assistant welfare sec. It's because I had a desire to promote the internship opportunities of students, NUS students. But looking at the nomination, the photos that all the exco take, right? There is a few deputy welfare sec, like 2 to 3, and then I'm the only assistant welfare sec. So I was thinking, how can I contribute and serve in such a way that my role as in the union will not be diminished by the multiplicity of people running for the same spot. So as I think of this aspect, Ida also spoke to me. Ida just say, why not take up a role that you are familiar with? NUSSU Rec, you're a logistic executive, so why not take on this role, take on a bigger calling? So I say, why not? Because I think that NUS is a learning community, so I would want to learn new things. So I just say, why not? Just take on the role as assistant sec, and we'll see how you go. Did I answer your question?
Sorry, just little confusion. Because you said you want to learn new things, but at the same time you also said it's something similar to what you've done before.
Okay.
So, an leadership is a totally new thing, and that is the question. So why the sudden change?
Okay, because basically there is this thing called the NUSSU Center, right? Okay, because right, student launch, I think everybody is acquainted and familiar with student launch. I think there is something attractive about this NUS Youth Center that I'm prepared to invest my time and effort in it. So I think that this is a new exciting project that IDA has created. So I think I can bring some values, bring the union forward. I can bring some values into this NUSU Center. Bring more value to the unit instead of just being an assistant welfare site where there are 3 deputy welfare sites. So who is going to, the multiplicity of the things, the jobs? Yeah. Did I answer your question? Hi.
Sherman from CSC. I actually have 2 questions to it. First, can you elaborate more about your plans and vision, right, for the NUSU Center? Because it's a new ground-up thing. So what do you envision it to be, and how you work together with the rest of the exco, the committees and the clubs to deliver this vision as the Assistant Secretary? And second is, what are your plans for the current YH entire area, including student lounge, in view of this NUSU Center? Because now with your NUSU Center, you got to split yourself between 2 locations. So inevitably your time and effort, your time and attention will be more or less split between 2 sites. So how are you going to, what vision do you have for the YH student lounge area, like the Secretariat, and how your NUSU Center can complement your vision for the YH student lounge? So it's 2 questions.
Okay, the first question is about the NUSU Center and how I can bring out this vision, basically.
Yep.
Basically, I will be tagging along with Ida. If I get elected, I will be tagging along with him to speak to the Vice Dean of Student Life right at Newtown, because he agreed to let us have this center. And we are also collaborating with some other organizations, thinking of collaborating with external organizations to bring this youth center to make it more vibrant. But the first thing about this youth center, you need promotion, you need publicity. So I need this youth center need to complement the communication secretary on how best to bring NUSU Center forward, instead of being the student launch, an Xbox Wii Center, which is not being utilized at all. So I do not wish NUSU Center in 1 year's time to be in that state of condition. So I think the main thing, first step, systematically, NUSU Center, publicity. Secondly, engage external organization, engage the Vice Deans of Student Life. And thirdly, engage all NUS students to collaborate together to come to this youth center, because without students, it's just an office space, right? So we need to bring the spirit within NUSU Center. And your second question is how to complement those centers.
Yes, YH.
Launch and...
Okay, maybe I'll clarify myself for the second question. Because inevitably when you have the youth center at Newtown, people will be channeled to Newtown. So how will you still ensure that YH Student Lounge remains relevant and attractive for students to come and use?
Oh, because basically both visions are different. For YH Student Launch, the vision is slightly different. It's just a common social space, to engage each other, revive the kampong spirit. It's a very inclusive thing, informal thing. But the youth center will be slightly different. It is informal, but yet to generate ideas. But that student launch is just to mingle. Okay, simply put, mingle. And youth center is to collaborate and to inspire.
Yeah, can you go to the front of the band?
Which slide?
Band.
Or the band?
Can I know the exact kind of changes that you're proposing for NUSSU?
Because the current procedure for the NUSSU van is like, Engine has proposed to me saying that NUSSU van you can only rent the van for 1 day, right, for one faculty, NJ, the other day for SD. Okay, that is the consensus from Engine. Okay, because if I get like Madam Sheila has promised me that there's a Dropbox folder, inside there's all the SOP everything. So I'll go and read it up. But that is what Engine has told me, and that is how I review it, according to their
May I
views.
know why there was no consultation with the current director of logistics?
Because, how should I put it? Okay, the NUSSU van is, okay, there's only one van, NUSSU van. And I think the main direction as an assistant sec, right, because I basically have to distance myself, assistant sec, and then UL, right? So basically, SOP, they can be read up, is quite, I think it's quite a fast read up, right, SOP, standard procedures. So basically, the role of an assistant sec is to set a general direction on how to bring the union forward, the maximum utilization of resources, how to let NUS students utilize these resources, and how to best allocate these resources in order to fit into the entire EXCO structure or the entire NUS community. I think that is the main importance of the role of as an assistant secretary, instead of fixated on the concrete stuff of the DOL job. I think that is what is most important, is the role of assistant secretary.
Yeah, I would question the changes that you would like to propose if you haven't even read the SOP, and you are saying that it's a quick read, but apparently not quick enough.
So you want to make a question or?
No, I'm making a statement.
Okay, fine.
I got your point also. Thank you for your advice.
For this point of order, I think people who voice out should actually limit the things to questions and not their own
Yes,
opinions.
I understand.
Okay.
Can I give a question to myself?
I have a question.
As a assistant secretary, you are a constitutional position with a role as a cell head. So can you name me some challenges that secretariat cell face? That's one part. Second part is how can you share with us more about you as an individual? How can you understand that it's always easy for an individual to take away some learning points from the organization? But as an individual, how can you bring value addedness to this organization? How can you value add to this place? Yeah.
Okay, so the first question is how to, as a constitutional position,
What are the challenges faced?
What
by
challenges
secretaries?
faced? I think as an assistant secretary, you need to be around YH most of the time. You need to accede to the NUS student needs, basically, because if people want to rent things from you, people want to use the union resources, you are the person heading the secretariat cell to actually to meet them, to actually accede to their request. So the main challenges, firstly, is to engage more time and effort. I think that's the first challenge. And the second challenge will be how best to allocate resources within the union so as to maximize and bring the union forward. I think that will be the main challenges of being an ASEC.
And then the
Second part.
Second question, you as an individual, how can you value add to this organization?
Value adding. I think value adding the organization, because as an ASEC, right, you are utilizing the union resources. As I said just now, if these resources are not publicized properly, the resources get unused. So I think SecCell should also work jointly with ComCell in a way that, things get used, things get done, people know things, and there's no asymmetry of information, basically.
Short business. I understand that you propose resource sharing and across not just the van but with other union resources as well. Do you believe that such an initiative is feasible given the difficulty in one, transporting resources around the university, two, accountability by various faculty and constituent clubs?
Transporting of resources around.
You're talking about sharing resources around, right?
Yeah.
So do you think it's going to be very feasible given that it's going to be difficult to account for logistics and everything?
Yeah, correct. That is one of the key challenges, because sharing of resources, if you really put it in reality as a plan, if you really go and think about it, is it really that feasible? That's the thing. So definitely there's no one-way solution. I mean, sharing of resources is one of the possibilities that we can look at. But definitely, as a student union, throughout my 1 year term, if I get elected, I would think of other ways to, or probably bring this idea up, try to work my way around it. And do you have the second part?
Sorry, just to follow up. Then what would incentivize faculties to use the system rather than going through their own individual faculty resources?
Oh, because union, okay, as I said, the NUS resources, right, the NUSSU resources is to support the NUS community. Basically, faculties can use their own resources. Union, if they need union help, union will support them in whatever ways they can. After all, NUS Fact Club, right, their activities are also NUSSU activities because all students are members of the union. So we have to, be supportive of their ideas, be supportive of their events also. Yeah.
How about supporting non-fact clubs?
Oh, as I said, all students are members of the union. So we will try to support as best as we could. But there is a limited resources aside, so we need to be, everybody needs to be cognizant of the fact that there is a limitation of resources on the union side also. But however, we are now actively pushing out because there's something called the Ask NUSSU, right? If you have any problems, you can ask NUSSU. So I think this is one idea that will actually complement the Ask NUSSU aspects.
Sorry, just now you mentioned that about you want to actually maintain some existing systems that Wei Xiang has already implemented. In reality, no system is perfect. So my question to you is, what are the deficiencies and loopholes of the current system that you would like to improve on?
Deficiency and loophole.
Deficiencies, and that means no system is perfect. You previously said that you just want to maintain the existing system, right? So because no system is perfect, so what are the current deficiencies and the loopholes of the system that you want to actually improve?
Basically, I've just talked about the challenges that I will face if I get elected. So these challenges will be the resource allocation part, right? So I think, you mean the SOP, the exact SOP on what I want to include? I think that would actually, I think I cannot just say it offhand right now. I will have to actually study the thing. I need to know what is inside the box before I can think outside the box. So I need to know how the system works, how actual things in reality works, because SOP being SOP, they are in paper. So I need to know how students get their things, in reality what happens, and everything before I can actually decide on how to improve the existing system.
So do you
I think it's a very practical hands-on job. It's not something that I can just say offhand. What right now I can do is set a general direction for the union.
Sorry, just to follow up, because you said you don't know what's in the box yet, right? So can I ask you, is your direction still to maintain the system?
It's definitely to maintain the system because on the surface right now, I see that things are running well on the surface. That is on the surface. But if I were to get on the job, if I were to do it in detail, I would know what is really, really going on, and I would really know how to implement on the really concrete and technical aspects of the job.
Okay, thank you.
Chairman CSC, I have two questions. First is, how do you think, what do you see the role of commit to be under yourself? And second thing is, regarding the Ask NUSSU initiative, right, resource sharing, let's say if it's so successful that we push out the information, a lot of people know about the resources and they wish to have a part of it, they wish to lend, they wish to borrow a part. And what happens if there are too many requests and not enough help to be given around? How will you handle such a situation where there's a tension between the amount of requests that come in and you're overloaded and the help that you can render is inadequate to meet those requests?
According to the priority of requests.
Like,
that will be your second question, answer to your question.
What would be your priority or request? Give an example.
Like for example, Ask NUSSU, right, when they email it or when they send whatever message in, there will be some kind of time to guide you according to their priority. So just arrange it according to that priority.
Okay, so maybe a sub-extension. Sorry, please indulge me. So if let's say a student from, let's say a normal student wishes to borrow a loud tailor, and a constituent club logistic director wishes to borrow a loud hailer too, and you only have one loud hailer, and the constituent club's logistic director loud hailer comes in at a later time, which one will you lend it to?
What event? It will depend on what event, but basically there will be a principle in terms of priority and importance.
What's your principle?
Principle of priority and the principle of importance.
So it's by time.
Time and importance.
Sorry.
Okay, basically what I want to say is your question is a very scenario based, it's a very hands-on thing. And my job, if I were to actually liaise with all these people when they come in, you know, I have to be a very HR person, basically. So my job is basically whoever gets the loud hailer and whoever didn't get the loud hailer, I will have to actually reason it out with the person who didn't get the loud hailer. So my reason has to resonate with that person, right? If not, they would think what is NUSSU doing.
What about my first question about commit? How do you see the role of commit in yourself?
And that will be the last question.
Oh yeah, I see.
I think commit is actively supporting NUSSU in terms of the IT aspects. I think what can be done is like you can look at their SOP and see what more can be achieved in terms of bring the union forward. Commit, I think they will set up all the services, you know, inside the student lounge if students have problems with the IT resources, I think all that. I think their usual work continues to go on, but a hands-on thing, as I said, you need to really get on the field, get a feel on the ground before you can implement changes. I cannot just offhand say, you know, because I look at the SOP, and that's why I want to change this because I don't think it's good. Because I think the role of an ASEC, you need to be hands-on. You need to be on the field to change it.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry, I'm from PA. Just like to ask, can you identify one good practice that you've learned through your past projects and how you intend to translate that into your future management or resources in NUSSU?
Basically, I assist in the REC 2013 as a logistic executive. I have to find vendors to come in, the events, contractors to come in. I have to find the dumpster to dump all the REC props. So, in a sense, I also have to actively be on the ground to coordinate the movement of 14 REC participating bodies. So in a way, it is a very on-the-field job. I think I'm an on-the-field person. So I think being an on-the-field person, I think I can bring value to the role of an ASEC.
Sorry, I would just clarify. What I meant is, can you identify, say, something like a learning experience that you think can be translated into your future role as assistant secretary through your past projects? So let's say you mentioned about rag and flag. Is there something good that you learned that you think might be very beneficial in the future?
In the future, in bringing the union forward as an ASEC?
Yes.
I think through rag and flag, because previously before rag, I was a very empathetic student. I did not take part in any activities or project. So through rag and flag, I feel the achievement, you know, when I actually set up something that benefit most of the NUS community. When they are really doing their performance and everything, when students are really cheering while I'm coordinating the movement of the rag participating bodies, I feel the satisfaction I get when students are engaging in something that I was involved in, a part of it. So I think this brought me to the realization that, you know, I can do more for NUSSU. I want to bring all these visions in. I want to set all these visions in, because this vision is what I glean from my role as a logistic executive in RAG. You see, a kampong spirit, more inclusive NUS community, entrepreneur dimension. Because student launch, basically there is some kind of booth, right, where students sell things. Nobody is there, but people just put their money in some box, and then they just pick the stuff out. So I think I need to enforce the entrepreneur dimension spirit of NUS students also. Did I answer your question?
Maybe I'll just ask one more time. Like, okay, what is the one thing in terms of logistics that you found was good in reg and flag? Maybe I'll split that into
Okay,
things like
logistical aspect, because I want to distance myself ASEC role from DOL role, right? Because I've said just now, I glean the satisfaction from the students, from having an inclusive students community. So that is all in my vision. What I brought from reg, I put it in the vision here. Yeah, that is what I bring from my past experience as an NUS student.
The teacher asks, I have two questions. Do you have any feasible concrete plans to direct people towards the NUSU Center besides hot desking?
Hot desking.
Besides hot desking. Like cleaning, manpower, all that kind of thing.
Oh, for this NUSU center, as Ida has mentioned just now, there will be some permanent personnel manning the center, right? That is one thing, that is one concrete thing that is going to happen. And we are also going to speak to Vice Provost Student Life. We're going to see how we can develop this youth center. We're also going to think of collaborating with external agencies on how best to coordinate this, to coordinate my vision, basically. So concrete plans is not fully developed, but it's in the working, like it's in the pipeline.
So basically, because in your cell there will be you, director of resources, director of logistics. So these people will have to manage student lounge as well as NUS Youth Center. Do you think that this is a bit spreading the resources too thin?
Oh, because the youth center, as I said, there are some higher personnel there already. So what you need to do is my role as an ASEC is to set the direction for the youth center. And the DOS will just have to do all the maintenance, upkeeping, whoever want to book the youth center, all the things that need to be looked at. And then throughout through time, we'll see how well received is the youth center, and we will improve accordingly, because this is a new thing. I can't just say offhand what improvement, because there is no improvement, it's a new thing. You see, it's a new exciting project. So yeah. Did I answer your question?
Yes, but perhaps there are some ways that you could learn from the management of the student lounge currently in the implementation of this youth center.
Okay.
Yeah, making a point of
Robert.
And we can take in one last question.
I believe business. So I want to ask this for all contested roles. State the strength and weakness of yourself and how you relate, how you compare to the contested.
I think my strength is I think I'm a very hardworking person. I would spend all my time on the things that I want to do. My weakness would be maybe that I'm not innovative enough to find solutions to problems. So that will be where I'm working on. So that would be my strength. I'm a hardworking person, and my weakness would be lack of the creative to solve problems.
Yeah, and the second part of the question, how do you compare yourself to the contested?
I think Kok Seng is a very on the field guy. I think he can also fit well, into the first thing that he actually want to do is to be the role of an assistant secretary. I think why he want to do it in the first place, I think it's because he knows that he's an on the field guy, right? Because this is a assistant secretary, you need to be on the field, you need to know what improvement. So I think that will be one thing that both of us have on the field experiences.
What about yourself from arts? So you have set a lot of directions for yourself, right? So you feel that you should get a role from someone giving the job and someone giving the directions. So what I have a question is, in the event that one of your members is unable to fulfill his functions, are you able to take on the job as an administrator and take on the roles over yourself? Because my point of view is that I'm providing services for the students, so I think these services should not stop because someone is not performing the roles, and we should continue to do this. So what do you think? Are you confident of taking over the administrator role?
I'm confident because, as I just previously mentioned, I was a logistic executive. So it is not that I never performed logistical roles before lah. I was on the field before. But basically, the role of ASEC is to set the general direction. But if the need arises, I would rise the occasion. I would be support the UL and the DOS.
Sherman CSC a motion to extend by 2 minutes.
I really business second.
Okay, Sherman CSC, I'd like to ask, in the case that if you do not get the position of assistant secretary, what role will you be willing to undertake in the exco?
I think if I did not get this position, I will be thinking of towards the welfare aspect because that is my very first position to seek for, and it will be in terms of internship aspect. I hope I can contribute to the union in a different way.
Okay, thank you.
With that, can I have someone? I propose to I Zion from PA propose to end the Q&A.
I really business second.
Round of applause for.
Okay. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Kok Seng. Today, I stand by you to contest for the position of Assistant Secretary. Firstly, let me briefly introduce about myself. I may seem a stranger over here because most of the time, I'm actually in NUSSU FlatCom, which has previously ended. I was the faculty secretary as well as the logistics manager over there. And apart from that, I'm actually a year 2 student from business school. During the army, I'm actually a dual vocationalist of both a dog handler as well as transport operator. Therefore, I have prior experience with regards to logistics management as well as facilities management. My friends always tell me I'm a driven, responsible and caring for others person, but let me show you what I've been applying for NUSSU. Why I joined NUSSU in the first place? Basically, I want to bring NUSSU to closer to the students. Why do I mean so? I'm sure everybody knows about the empathy issue, but more importantly, how do we actually close up the gaps? I'm sure Ita has a lot of plans who has already showed us, concretely how we can improvise on them. Next, we can also develop entrepreneurial aspects of students. Coming from a business student perspective, we always see that there are so many opportunities for us as business students. But how do we reciprocate all these opportunities for our other faculties? This is a very important point, and therefore, it is also important, like what Sherman has said. We are always under the grant of the government, alright? We need to encourage students to contribute to the society in multiple aspects. So far, with what I see, Flag Day itself is the one and only significant event that students are able to contribute back to society directly to the beneficiaries. Therefore, we also need to encourage our current union volunteers to take up multi-dimensional roles, like in terms of job rotation, in terms of our union volunteers not stuck in the mindset that I'm a flag volunteer, I'm stuck in flag, that's all. Alright? Most importantly, I see NUSSU as a platform to provide opportunities for all students. So why did I choose to run as the Assistant Secretary? Well, besides my prior experience, I see to create value in terms of the facilities managed by the Secretariat cell, which includes the NUSSU storage bay, the NUSSU van, the YH student lounge, as well as the various important committee rooms that we have in YH. Next, I also want to assist the General Secretary as well as the Vice President to manage the human resources, whereby we will actually improvise a volunteer management system, and which I will share further. Furthermore, in terms of our current structure itself, Secretariat Cell is actually in charge of Commit, whereby Commit actually is a subcom who is able to provide IT resources. And in terms of that, they actually have a significant event of Cheritage, which they can contribute, get our union volunteers to contribute back to the society in the most direct manner. Last but not least, I see Secretariat Cell as the most important and dynamic cell for teamwork. Why do I say so? Let me share with you later. But more importantly, this is our goal for the cell this year. Integrating resources for higher value. The guiding principle of Secretariat Cell has been laid out since the 33rd NUSSU Exco. It started off with service excellence being the guiding principle, followed by the strengthening of systems as well as maintenance operations. Strengthening systems looks at the strengthening of the SOPs with regards to the van, with regards to the facilities, how do we book and all those stuff. Maintenance includes the daily running of our facilities, which is our student lounge. And therefore, I will seek to actually integrate resources for higher value. How do I say so? Via the online, I would say, logistics resource list, which I will show you later. And before I move on, this is the KPI that we have met this year. We have 250 bookings for the YH Student Lounge in terms of both business, in terms of all the meetings, events, as well as all the recruitment drives. Next, we also have 66 new train drivers for the NUSSU van. And more importantly, over the past 11 months, we have 70% of the bookings for NUSSU van. In all things go, it seems that actually the secondary cell has done a good job. But definitely, I see that there are improvements to be made over here. First, let us talk about the Director of Logistics. Importantly, we need to reduce the logistic cluster of the various facilities. What do I mean by so? I mean, pardon the committees who are here, but I'm referring to the committee office, where I see a lot of clutter around, and I seek to actually enforce different maintenance schedule, or at least get them to take ownership of the office there. More importantly, I will develop a maintenance schedule for the NUSSU storage bay and van, as well as stronger van orientation program, which is called the refresher course. Last but not least, which is our crux of secondary cell this year, is to emphasize on resource sharing as well as integration, which is, in other words, managing the what-ifs. Like what Engine Club has already said previously, imagine a situation whereby both Law Club and Engine Club has to use the facilities, use the van on the same day at the same time. How do we actually solve this problem? Do we actually look at, rejecting our Engine Club because of law, or do we actually provide external alternative solutions? I would like to assure you that the current DOL, which is the Director of Logistics, 34th EXCO, Chang Wei-Jiang, has actually found 3 external vendors whom are actually the van rental companies. Therefore, I have faith in extending the list, and most importantly, I will share with you what we can do on the storage bay. The storage bay itself, we have 3 permanent shelves for NUSSU committees, which includes MVAC, PRU, as well as 1 shelf for FOCC. Most importantly, we need to actually encourage them to be responsible of the storage space. Do not take this place as granted, because although, despite the main duty and responsibility is upon the NUSSU EXCO, as well as the DOL to maintain the area, but more importantly, look at the state over here. This is the state where you see this is after the cleanup by the 34th NUSSU EXCO. Do we really depend on them to do everything? No, I don't think so. And next, but further than that, we also need to enhance our resource sharing capabilities, which I said earlier. More importantly, we will get a new DOL to actually identify the logistics which we can actually loan out to the various constituent clubs as well as the ad hoc committees. How do we do so? We will actually first publish an online logistics resource list on our website. After that, when we have already developed the database, which requires time, we will actually initiate the database policy, alright? We will actually initiate the database policy. Look at it this way. The next important asset that we have is actually the NUSSU van. More importantly, it is used only for, I would like to emphasize that it is used only for the activities of student organization, and it must be driven by authorized drivers. I see the important thing as it is important for all the drivers to be confident enough to drive the vehicle. It's not whether they are authorized or not, because authorization is a one-time event, but confidence is another issue. Before I want to move on, I want to look at the issue of deconflicting the usage. Sherman actually talked about the online resource booking system, which includes the van, I will perceive. But more importantly, we will actually want to limit the ad hoc committees, which is our camps, the social camps, as well as the O-Week itself, from the usage of the van. That means we only allow them to run for their sponsorship runs, as well as the distribution of welfare items. Take for example what the 34th NUSSU Exco welfare cell has done. Basically, instead of using the van and getting the different con clubs to use the van, the welfare cell actually initiated this way that the NUSSU Exco will distribute the welfare items to the various clubs. This way we can also solve the problem, but I'm not saying that every time we have to rely on the NUSSU Exco. What I'm trying to emphasize over here is to get our drivers to be ready and confident enough to drive our vans. So far this year, we have no major accidents, and this has actually allowed us to minimize any downtime with regards to the van itself. Therefore, we actually have because of this issue, we actually have 70% of the bookings that are done for the van. The 30% improvement can be made via this thing, which is the refresher course. Let's take a look. The con clubs and various ad hoc committees, they always send in drivers who may or may not be authorized. Authorization at the other side, we also look at how confident are they to drive the vehicle. Yes, we must admit that the van, it may look very, I would say, unsightly right now because of the exterior damages that are done on it. But I would like to assure you, with this policy in place, we actually improve on this situation in managing it. I will see that because we have short of manpower in the 34th NUSSU Exco itself, whereby the Director of Services had to leave for other reasons. I seek to actually further implement and rejuvenate the student lounge. How do I do so? Is by actually collaborating with the ComCell as well as the PRU to first understand the needs of the students, and more importantly, to actually brand it as our hub. What do I mean by our hub? We actually entice NUS-based, cross-faculty interaction events. How do you do so? By very simply, because look at the state of ADM. The building of ADM is, they are demolishing the ADM, they are renovating the ADM. So therefore, we need to actually find ways to entice them to come over. Since we are air-conditioned, we are also closer because we've got so many different facilities over there. Alright? More importantly, we want to actually have a convertible exhibition area to invite the different societies, interest groups, and CCAs to come over here. And next, last but not least, we also want to extend, like what Sherman has said, to continue on the project on union presence, which is celebrating our NUSSU heritage. We will also continue on the student assistance schemes, but this time round, we will actually redefine the job scope. So how do we redefine the job scope? That is beyond the receptionist role that you can see over here. The current receptionist role, alright, when we actually rebrand the YH as our hub itself, we seek to actually get the student assistants to be able to connect with the students, or more importantly, randomly select students to gather feedback with regards to this area. If let's say everyone is still unsure of all the facilities that we have at YH, this is the list that we have. Look at the important officers that we have over there. Existing and incoming students will definitely engage with them, especially NUS Career Centers for graduating students, OSA, especially for other booking of facilities. And more importantly, look at the white space over here. It has been sort of neglected for the past few years because of the poor working condition of digital signage. I propose we seek to cooperate with OED in terms of this manner to either convert this area whereby we will have those kind of portable road shows where we can further rejuvenate the place, make it a more lively place. Look at the empty space, we can work with the ComCell, the ComSec to actually look at how to publicize NUSSU itself. Last but not least, I would like to touch on the roles of being the Assistant Secretary. Firstly, I would like to merge the role of Director of Resources. Like what previously has mentioned, we will actually develop a volunteer engagement resource database. So this does not extend to beyond, this does not extend to the union volunteers, but for a longer term, we actually engage the faculty volunteers. Why do we want to do this? Well, very simply, besides the union team, besides that, let's look at the mentoring sessions that we can provide for the volunteers. Because every year, let's say we step up from NUSSU FOCC, alright? we face the same problem whereby, let's say, flag itself. This year, we couldn't foresee the t-shirts issue, whereby the t-shirts came late and all those. We didn't have a long time to prepare our contingency plans. So imagine this year, I'm the senior, alright, I'm the senior volunteer, I'm going to tell the junior volunteers, hey, go prepare a contingency plan. You will never know what happened. What's more, look at the safety issue. Is it still relevant for REC, or is it still relevant based on other events? Last but not least, we also, being the assistant sec, I will also continue work with the General Secretary, John Paul, to actually look at the 3 different areas, which includes the SOP, which includes the archival process, as well as taking down minutes. Having said all this, I guess everyone is slightly tired, so I'm going to show you a timeline of events. I've broken down into 3 important phases. The first phase, which is September to December phase, current phase. January to April, which is the semester 2 phase, followed by May to August 2014, which is the FOCC 0-week phase. What we seek to actually achieve over here is to first engage in all the groundwork communication with the various faculties, as well as the various clubs. After that, understanding the requirements, we will actually, the DOL on the other hand, will actually start to identify the important inventory list that has already been prepared by the 34th EXCO DOL. All he needs to do is to tally in all the figures, and after that, efficiently, effectively publish it on the NUSSU website. Thereafter, we will publicize this importance and relevance of resource lists via the ComCell's methods. Next, I will also talk about the DOS to work with the ComCell and PRU to understand the YH student lounge, the student needs with regards to the lounge. Is it still relevant? Is it still relevant to have a movie screening place? Is it still relevant to have the anti-stage that is sometimes not used at all? More importantly, I myself, together with DOL, will revise the SOP in terms of the van, and as well as the driver orientation program, to make it strengthen it in such a way that we can minimize even the exterior damages. During the January to April phase, we will implement this revised driver orientation program. More importantly, we will implement at least a part of marketing campaign, which is our YH student lounge. Thereafter, I should actually have started working on the volunteer engagement human resource database with all the union volunteers, information on the database. The last phase would be the mentoring sessions that I covered earlier, and most importantly is to find out the various different FOCC as well as ComCard requirements during this busy period. I would not say that we would need time to actually look at, to actually discuss with different clubs, but I can guarantee you that we can actually find ways to help you, to solve your solution, to solve your problems. Most importantly, after all these things, my team will actually sit down and look at the continuity plan. Is it still relevant? Is it still relevant to have an online logistics resource list that is updated monthly? Can we actually change it to an online logistics resource database? Because my current stand is that it may take time to develop the database, but it does not mean that we don't try. We actually try it first, but we will try it beta testing. More importantly, I would like to assure you guys that we will still focus on the maintenance operations of our facilities, including the storage bay, as well as the YH student lounge and the various officers. In essence, having said all this, the Director of Logistics will look at strengthening the logistics capabilities of the NUSSU. Followed by that, the Director of Services will help to develop YH as a student hub. And more importantly, I will also look at how to assist the General Secretary as well as the Vice President in engaging the volunteer base that is actually growing, how to retain this group of volunteers. We will work together as one instead of hierarchical, flatten and make it a flattened structure. More importantly, to serve the backbone of NUSSU. Reaping the soul is referring to all the tangibles, like what I said earlier, the logistics resource list, which will eventually become a booking system, as well as a well-maintained NUSSU van, whereby we will have trained and competent drivers not just trained, but also competent. Engage YH Student Lounge. What do I mean by that? The cross-interaction faculty events, the comfortable exhibition areas. More importantly, the consolidated volunteer engagement, human resource analytics. Integrating resources for higher value does not stop here. This can be actually extrapolated into the future batches, but more importantly, this is the goal of what I seek to achieve together with myself, a closer union. With that, I thank you, and I end my speech over here. Thank you.
Now Q&A, anybody?
CSE proposes opening of Q&A.
Sean Business Secondary.
Okay. First question.
Lily from SD. Can you switch back to the slide about the NUSSU plan? Because you mentioned something about limiting during peak periods, you're planning to limit the use of the van for the ad hoc committees, right? Which means that you want to use them only for more of like collecting marketing, sponsorship items and stuff like that.
Yep.
To be complete. But it's only during the it's mainly during the actual camp periods, right? When people need the van more often.
Yes, during the actual camp period, we will actually not let them use the vehicle itself. Instead, we will actually drive it for them because limiting them off the actual camp period.
So
Which means before the camp period you can use it, and during the camp period itself you won't let you use it because in actual fact your drivers will be tired, you will be fatigued enough to do it.
Actual camp, will the van be vacant in the sense that will you be wasting the resource, wasting the chance that you will use it, or will you all be like, are you suggesting that you will be driving around to help people?
Okay. I'm suggesting, right, the basic thing is that the actual camp periods for different faculties occur at different periods. What I see over here is that by deconflicting this usage, right, we can actually allow more faculty clubs to use the van. So if let's say, imagine that let's say Beside Club had this event in week 1, had this actual camp period in week 1. But the preparation phase for Engine Club is in week 1. So we actually loan out this van to Engine Club. Yeah. Followed by that, during week 2, Beside Club needs to clean up the place itself. So we loan, switch around. Allow Engine Club to pass it to Beside Club, and Beside Club will drive the van.
But what if it is usually during the actual camp period when people need a van more, like transporting items like tables, chairs, and all that?
Then we will actually help to actually drive the van itself. But more importantly, I would like to emphasize that we are not also freeloaders, free riders, but more importantly, we also need help from the various com clubs in terms of supporting us back when we need help. It's a mutual kind of thing.
Sure, business. Seems like you've got good ideas on how to make the lounge a more vibrant place.
Yeah.
But seems that many of your ideas are really passive initiatives, like redecorating this. Do you have any ideas on how you want to actively reach out to faculties and incentivize them to use the lounge?
Okay. Okay. There are two phases towards this issue. First is to actually allow, which I will discuss with Ida and Sherman, is that to hold the first money union tea at the YH Student Lounge itself. And how do we actually go about doing that is to actually work on publicity with the ComCell. Followed by that, we also need to extend the use of the YH Student Lounge, whereby because tapping on the first money union tea, whereby we already get people to understand and know about this place, about the Student Lounge. Followed by that, we will look at other ways which I haven't really thought of to actually get students to come over. What we have in mind right now is to work with the different F&B outlets over there, right? Especially with Starbucks. Thank you.
Sherman CSC, I have 3 questions. First one is of a more personal nature. What are your motivations in joining union, the FlatCom especially?
Right.
Second question will be, how do you make the logistic role a more attractive option for volunteers, especially in light of volunteer engagement and development? Because there's a fear of being boxed in and you do logistics. And logistics by its nature is not very attractive in itself.
Right.
And third thing is, YH, the bad traffic flow at YH, what do you think is the primary reason, more dominant reason? Is it because of the lack of facilities and attractions, or is it because of its inherently not so convenient location?
Okay. So first we talk about the motivation of why did I join NUSSU itself. Well, basically I was looking for a volunteerism role in NUSSU, in around NUSSU life, but during that time I couldn't commit due to family reasons that in terms of being a volunteer, full-time volunteer. So that's why I decided to take a long-term approach whereby we look at the issue of logistics, because I would actually like to extend the concept of volunteerism, giving back to society, to influence them, to influence our friends, to actually find ways to contribute back to society. So I found flag day was the most effective way during that time. Yep. So second question next is a logistic role. How do we actually encourage the NUSSU, I would say FOCC, right? Let's say FOCC.
Maybe all volunteers.
Okay, let's say all
PRU
volunteers.
usually has difficulty finding a logistics director.
Oh, okay, right, you're right. Okay, so perhaps that's the reason why the dungeon needs a bit more help. Okay, so firstly, I think we need to actually tell them, or I would say relate to them that logistics is not a boring kind of job. You still face a lot of different challenges. Look at the NUSSU event itself, especially flag when we actually had last minute decisions that suddenly we need to send all sponsorship items, suddenly we need to distribute all the welfare items and stuff. So more importantly, we have to let them know that it is a dynamic role. It does not stop really carrying boxes and stuff. And apart from that, I think to actually extend this situation, we can get PRU to engage, for example, let's say marketing solutions. So for example, right, we can also, like what you said earlier, job rotation. Meaning those who are in PRU, let's say internal relations, they do not stay in the relations forever, but they will job rotate around. So we can use this concept back to NUSSU volunteer itself, whereby we can tell them, say, okay, maybe this first sem you'll be the marketing department, next you'll be going to logistics. Fear not, there'll be a senior over there. More important, I think the problem with regards to being a logistics is that no one is guiding you. You are like left alone, then the rest are just there, right? Lastly, because of a third question was on bad traffic, right?
Yep.
Bad traffic, I don't see it's because of the lack of facilities over there. In fact, like what I've shown earlier, there are a lot of different facilities over there. Like you can see a bank, you can see the F&B outlets, like what Kobe previously mentioned, some people who brought in because of halal food. And more importantly, I see it as a lack of publicity. Because last time, before before U-Town, YH was sort of like the hit place with a central library. Sort of, from what my seniors told me, but I might be wrong. But more importantly, it's like, we need to work with the Comcel to look at how to rejuvenate the place. Brand it such that it's not an old and empty space over there. Thanks. Hi.
Actually, back to the issue on the NUSSU van, right? I'm not really sure how you intend to solve the problem during camp periods. Are you limiting the usage of the van during the camp periods? Because I'm not sure. I don't really know how to interpret how you're going to solve the problem.
Okay. Maybe I will re-illustrate the example. Okay. First, we will. Okay. Let's take it post-prep. So during first phase, alright, you need to prepare all the logistics items. You need to collect all the sponsorship items. You need to actually pack them together. So how do you do so? You actually need a van to transport all the things. So we will actually allow you to use the van. Now, second phase, which is the actual camp period. Your drivers will be, I would say, will be more tired and very fatigued to drive the van itself. Therefore, we propose that we actually have a group of, I would say, more frequent NUSSU van drivers, volunteer task group, whereby we actually rotate them on a basis, shift duty basis, so that our NUSSU volunteer drivers, they will actually, help you drive the van during the actual camp period, okay? right? So the third phase will be the collection phase. Third phase whereby you settle everything already, you need to collect back all your furniture, send back all your required items to various officers. We will then lend you the van itself. So look at it this way, it is only during the actual camp period that we will try to limit abuse. Yeah. Hi. Yep.
Regarding the big issue, right? I know it depends on the suicide in terms of only during that period where there are a lot of demand for it. Is there a plan to loan extra van for 2 months or something?
This one we have to work with the finance cell to look at the feasibility of renting a second van on the entity of NUSSU. That means NUSSU has 2 vans. But I think apart from that, the important thing is that we will also emphasize that it is not up to us, it is not our responsibility to spoon feed everything. I would say we will also provide you the opportunity with the list that the 34th NUSSU has prepared in terms of the 3 van rental companies that you can also self-source. Because sometimes when we actually rent the van on NUSSU side, there are other problems that we foresee. One problem could be the insurance problem. Right.
Just now for the next question, right, you mentioned that you are able to find a bunch of volunteers to drive,
Yeah.
right? May I know where are the volunteers? As in, where do they come from?
This one we have to look at our volunteer resource database and tapping back on the union-wide resource pool. We're actually trying to bring the idea across whereby there could be drivers, there could be authorized drivers around, but they do not have a van. That means they do not have a pickup truck. So we will actually use that list to find out how actually are they committed or say interested in driving the van on behalf of us. And probably we can offer some incentivized scheme, which currently we have for our student lounge, where our student assistants are paid on a $450 basis, $450 per hour basis.
How confident are you to find all these drivers? Because I realize that this is the sort of like the core of your plan.
Yes.
And if you are not able to find any volunteers, basically your plan wouldn't work.
We'll start looking for it, especially with the DOPs, whereby we first meet the different FOCC, NUSSU Flatcom, NUSSU Mincom drivers. Alright, we'll start looking from there first, and I cannot guarantee that it may or may not work out. It depends on the volunteer base, but at least on NUSSU side, there are a few trained drivers in the NUSSU Expo. I think more importantly, right, you have to look at my logic behind it is not to not lend the NUSSU van to everyone, but rather in terms of beyond safety issues, but in terms of sharing the van to different conclaves, because different conclaves might have different requirements, and sometimes we also look at the issue of whether the same conclave actually has used the van for frequent periods. So for example, like let's say computing has used it for like 3 times, but suddenly law has to use it, but law has not used it at all during the year. So we will definitely let law use it. So depending on different reasons, I would say the decision is based on different factors. Thanks. Hi. Yeah.
Just want to check that in any case where accident happen, because these 4 people are volunteering their service, and unforeseen circumstances where accident happen, who is the one who is liable for this liability?
I think the overall responsibility lies on the discretion of the NUSSU DOL as well as myself, whereby we will actually select the drivers in a sense that we will need to take charge of, because the current situation is that unless you are an unauthorized driver, then you will be fully liable of yourself and the damages you did to the van. But otherwise, if you are an authorized driver and based on the SOP, if you are an authorized driver, then you will be covered under the policy. Thanks. Hi, sure.
CFC. I understand in your cell you expect 3 people. You,
Yes.
your director of logistics and director of services.
Yes.
Okay. I'm just wondering 2 questions. First and second. First is, do you have any candidates for those positions?
Yes. I have candidates.
Yeah. If you have, right, how can you ensure that they will really stay? I don't doubt that they will stay on their job, but my experiences in the past 2 exco, right, has told me that sort of like this kind of job is quite disillusioning because it's kind of tedious, and if you don't do your job well, people will complain, but you do your job well, people take it for granted. Right. So how do you have any plans to ensure that they will stay committed and not disillusioned by it?
Yes. Having been a team leader in MD Command, the Chief Police Command, I was actually the driver IC. I would say the transport operator IC for all my men and all stuff. So we actually had 20 men, and we didn't have a problem of them, because perhaps they are false in the army, but apart from that, in terms of incentivizing them, I feel that it's important to being a leader. You have to look at how to manage the relationships even before conflicts occur. So I guess it's because of your experience in 34 high school, and you look at turnover rate for secretaries is especially high. One tangible way that I will do is actually bring them out for dinner and stuff. But apart from that, is to actually look at how they can work together, how we can work together as a cell. That's the most important thing I'm trying to portray over here. Yeah. Thank you.
Daily business, I ask the same question of your contestant. 2 parts. What is your strength? Name 1 strength and 1 weakness in relation to this job. And second part of the question is, how do you evaluate your contestant?
What
do you think of it?
Right. Let me just talk about more about myself then. My 1 strength would be my prior experience with regards to this cell. And my 1 weakness would be that I'm usually too firm with regards to the goal set in front. So if let's say I want to have a pool of resources or a pool of volunteers, I will make sure that unless we really can't get anyone to join a band, but usually I'm too firm in terms of things, but I guess my team will actually compliment me in terms of smoothing this process of goal setting. And with regards to my contestant, Xun, I think that my past discussion with him wasn't that great, so I don't really understand him that much. But I think that he would be a better candidate in terms of other aspects, because he didn't have any prior experience with logistics. Yes, boss.
Two questions. Can you name me some of what are some of the challenges that Secretariat itself has? And second part is how do you think you as an individual can value add to this organization?
Right. Firstly, let's address the issue of the NUSSU dungeon itself, the NUSSU storage bay. One of the key challenges was that the maintenance during the peak period was really bad because of different logistical requirements. Sometimes the resources get a bit too overwhelming, especially during FOCC period, whereby we had 5 different events happening almost consecutively different weeks. So one challenge will be actually to resolve this, because that is why we introduced this maintenance schedule. And next will be in terms of consolidating the volunteer engagement for the previous exco, which is the 34th, whereby we need to actually work with the previous previous project PDs, as well as in terms of our current term union volunteers, to get the information, to understand more about what they seek to actually look for in the community, in NUSSU itself. Yeah, so I think that's the 2 key challenges that I think I will face. And as an individual, I think I can contribute to NUSSU, especially the EXCO, in 2 key areas. Firstly is my expertise in logistics, and more importantly, being an individual in terms of assistance towards helping out the various stakeholders, important top management, which includes the GenSec, whereby we actually had a discussion earlier already to talk about how to speed up our co-relationship, as well as look at facilitating the events better because of my advocacy background. Thanks.
Any more questions?
So this is a very mundane question, but on behalf of all student volunteers who regularly stay at YH, will you consider requesting the school admin to install showers at YH?
Showers at YH?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, because you don't want to go to RVR. Okay. Let's look at it this way. On the more operational aspect, you need to go and convince the officers that we had long-term, regular volunteers staying over at YH, especially during the FOCC period. I'm thinking that you're going to that direction. Apart from that, we also need to get the finance to do it. As in, like, we need to come up with a feasibility proposal, and like what usually top downs we do, we need to answer a lot of different quotation queries and all this stuff. Yeah. So we will try, but we can't guarantee. Yeah. Hi, Glenn.
Sorry, it's a follow-up to his question. He asked about the showers, right? My question to you is, before you go into the operations, what is your thought process on, is it even a need to install such a thing?
Thought process?
Your thought process on, is this a need or is it just a want from those who are just for convenience sake? So that's my question to you. Okay. Is the showers a need or is it a want?
I think it is a want. Because currently, in a perspective of the various, public facilities that's around, just a longer walk, which is at the MBSH, where there's public facilities over there. But more importantly, if we can justify that is a small benefit that we can provide to our union volunteers, and after that, we need to tell them that, hey, we got this right for you, better take care of this place properly. A lot of times, I think that the things that we do in NUSSU Exco or in organizations is that people don't value the benefit that they get. So I think that's a more important thing that we communicate. They have to value their benefit. Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. It is Constitution. Yes.
Would you distill all that you'd like to do as the Assistant Secretary should you be elected into a single sentence?
To value add resources. To value add resources that we already own currently, but we have not maximized the potential. Thank you.
Any more questions?
On the close the question answer session.
Sure,